quick announcement on that part is the next speaker was supposed to be Ram Praveen Swaminathan, who is the managing director of Mahindra Logistics, who has to step out due to last-minute personal emergencies. And then I requested my friend Elite Venkatadri to swap the hat with me, and so he was kind enough to swap it. So he's going to be the speaker, and I'm going to be the host for that session. And I have no concerns on that part because he's a veteran in the logistics space, and he has driven very complex projects. And I'm also a really happy client for him. And so these are a wonderful relationship we have with Venkatadri, who's a chief commercial officer of Tata Chemicals, and who's going to be the next speaker. And the session, as you know, it's going to be about the logistics. And any quick thought, Venkatadri, before I step on with the questions?
Oh, thanks, Venkatesh. Till couple of hours back, I was comfortably sitting saying that I'm going to ask the question, and somebody else is going to give the answers. So then Venkatesh calls up and says that it's because of an emergency, so we need to switch the roles, and I need to do the answering. So I said perfectly fine, any time for Venkatesh and any time for CII Logistics. So here I am. So just to kick off before the questions that Venkatesh you will start putting into me, I just thought I'll take a couple of minutes to talk about the logistics sector in India, the relevance of it, the importance of it, and why is it today more important than it was maybe 5 years back. I'll just take a few minutes to set the context. If we really look at it, if we look at growth of any country, if we step back 50 years back, how US became a fast developing country, became the number one economy, it was because they invested quite a bit in what we call as railroads and roads and infrastructure. And that is what helped US transform itself into the number one economy. If you look at the last 30 odd years, when China just shot through the roof from nowhere to becoming the second largest economy, if you really look at it, besides all other things that China did, which is setting up manufacturing capacities, etc., they also did a beautiful work in logistics. I do remember that in the year 2000, almost 2002, 2003, which is more than 20 years back, when I had gone to China, I saw that very coincidentally, I landed up also, as part of the, visit for the company when I was in Hindustan Lever, went to a place called Wuhan, which became very, very popular now because of the coronavirus. In 2003, they had, aero bridges in such a small airport, leave out Shanghai and Beijing. And at that time, Mumbai airport did not have so many aero bridges. So, and the kind of roads that they had, the kind of, you could zip past at 150, 160 kilometers an hour. So clearly brought about the point saying that if a country has to have an exponential growth, logistics is very, very crucial. Infrastructure is very crucial for the development of the economy. And that is even more relevant if you are going to be dependent, if you're going to be focusing also on manufacturing, because in services, you can do work from home and stuff like that. But in manufacturing, delivery is important, and hence logistics also plays a very critical role. And clearly, I think in India, this is something that India is also recognized as a country that why logistics is important, and the various things which we'll talk about as we go along in the session, that I would attribute that a lot of growth that India is recording 8 plus GDP growth, a lot of it has got to do with a lot of infrastructure development that has gone in logistics. So, whether it is, I would call GST also to have supported the whole concept of logistics movement, the highways, the railways, etc. So I would say that logistics is a very crucial part of any economy's growth. And, in some in part of the data that I looked at from Invest India, the Indian logistics market, it is estimated to be anywhere between 200 to $215 billion. And the anticipation is that it will grow at almost 10.5% CAGR till around 2025. And even so, that means the logistics business, where it includes everybody who's involved in it, has to grow faster than the GDP for it to play the critical role. So hence, I would say that logistics is crucial for any economy's growth. And and I would say that as a country, I think we are we are trying to catch up, doing well. And that's the reason why it is important for all of us to focus on. This is also, the study that was done, that logistics cost in India, there are different versions of it. Somebody says it's 14-15%. There's another study that had been recently done. They're talking about 8%. But whatever be it, compared to the world average, we are at least 3x or 4x of what we should be. And that's where I think the logistics function is going to be very crucial. And both the government and Indian corporates, including startups, will have to play a very, very big role in making that transformation done. So with that, Venkat, this is an opening remarks. I'm handing it over to you for whatever questions that you have planned out for me.
Thank you very much, sir. That's really wonderful. And when someone asks you, what is the challenge that keeps you awake when they say specific logistics, what is the one challenge that comes to your mind?
See, I would say that I mean, if I look at supply chain challenges within the country, I think there are multiple of them, but I would not call it as one. Maybe I would put up two, three of them. Some of it is getting addressed, but some of it is still there. I would say the biggest challenge has been the infrastructure for bringing down the cost of logistics in the country. We still have yet to get proper transportation, last mile delivery, warehousing, cold chain facility. While the government has done brilliant work in improving the roads and highways within the country, but I think we still have a way to go. And also the last mile connectivity with railways. So I would put that as one big issue that is there. The second thing that I would still call out is there, that I think we still need to bring about some regulatory complexity that exists, also needs to be handled. There are still some issues that are there to set up logistics companies to be able to quickly put up facilities, etc. That I would say as another big issue that we have. Third important part of it is also the technology adoption. I think while there is quite a bit of technology adoption that companies are doing, but I think there is a lot more to technology that is potentially possible. And last but not least is what I would call it as, how do you get the right talent for this big transformation that will happen in the area of logistics in India? And that's what I would say are the top 3 or 4 challenges that are there. Here I am again not looking at it as as my company. I'm looking at it as from a more India as a country, the issues that we need to address.
Yeah, that's well said. And these are real, I'm sure, like will be on top of someone like you who is always trying to improve the logistics. The next one, I'm getting into an equally painful area, which I would say is the visibility. So everyone talks about it, and nobody is having that. That is how it is, and it has been addressed in different shapes and sizes. Like people tried the GPRS, then they went in for the someone even IoT devices improvised. They went and then they did SIM card triangulation. Then finally they landed up. I saw some of the startups doing even tracking the FASTags, although that might not give you the specific location. Gross information will be available. So where are we today, and what are the ways forward?
See, here I would actually say that this visibility is a very critical thing in supply chain, because everybody wants to know, where is my material today? Where is it? When is it likely to reach me? Here I would put it in two buckets. One is it that creating the right infrastructure, the hardware for it, and then the software for it. I'm using it loosely to say things which are hard things to be put up. And here I would really appreciate what the government has done, and that has helped quite a bit. When they brought about this national logistics policy, when they created this integration of the digital systems, where all see today one of the big problems that this government had, and I think all of us used to face, is there that even within at a departmental level, there is roadways, there is railways, aviation, commerce ministry, foreign trade, etc. Now, all of us as users, we use all of these departments for our materials, whether it is materials or for information, and none of them talk to each other. So this thing about bringing all of them on one platform, it's not that the ministries are combined, they are still separate, but creating that digital system which actually brings all of it together is actually one of the big things that the government has done. And this ULIP platform, I think that is another brilliant initiative that has happened. So from a government perspective, I think that, and also bringing up, I would say, putting in money in Gati Shakti, putting up that Sagarmala for how do we get benefit of roadways. These are all good initiatives that the government has taken. And one good thing that has also happened is that, for example, if you take this FOI system, which is the where is the railway, the coach today. Now that access was only with the government of India, and this is something as part of ULIP. They opened it up, and a lot of startups have actually started using that data to be able to use that to say where it is. So today, even in our own company, I mean, I can talk about it a little later, where we've actually built up a strong system to be able to get visibility on all types of movements, whether it's railways, whether it's container, whether it's road. So that visibility, that is something which is there. The other thing is there that, again, see, to be able to track where the vessel, whether a truck is, for example, all of us in the past, we all used to rely on the SIM card of the driver. And many a times what used to happen was that the driver would put it off. He would be on the road and he would put off because he wants to disappear for 2 days. He would put it off and he would never know. Then, of course, the government has now insisted that any truck that is getting produced will have to come with GPS. And so that is something which is getting built in. So, and of course, we also, for the existing trucks, made sure that the transporters put in the GPS, which allows us to keep tracking. Of course, the toll booth also was a very good pseudo measure to know whether the truck has crossed that. But again, the issue is that there could be a distance of maybe 100 kilometers between two toll booths. So this guy has crossed, but he hasn't reached the next place. So you don't know where he is. Has he gone to his village? So it's still not very foolproof. But with the GPS focus, I think now, even in my company, we are able to say with full certainty where any truck is at a point of time. So that has actually helped in bringing about quite a bit of visibility within the country. Now, if I look at again the visibility outside the country, for example, a lot of us import, export, because what is important is that we need visibility end to end. From the time we import till the time it comes to a port to factory, factory inside the factory, then from factory to wherever our customers are in India, or sending it outside the country. So this GPS actually helps in doing everything within the country, and any movement outside the country, for example, container movements or even bulk shipments. Now, many of these guys give access to their records to be able to track where their systems are. Now, one of the things that we all used to face a problem is there that you have a container number, you put it in, say, whichever Zim or Maersk or wherever you're using, and it tells you where it is. Today, many startups have come which kind of integrates, gives you a simple app or a table where you don't need to log into 5 or 7 container operators. You just put it into that, give the name of the container, the person, the company which is carrying it, and you would get that information at a click of a button. So I would say that visibility has substantially improved because of the railways allowing voice system, the government insisting on GPS, all of us insisting on GPS, and also in the international for the what is there on waterways to be able to track it. So I would say that trackability, traceability, and visibility has substantially improved. I think we still need to do quite a bit more. That's where I would say it is.
Just a follow-up question. Is it a cost a limiting factor for scaling up or making it more impactful?
Absolutely not. I think it's a very, very small cost compared to the cost of logistics that we incur. All of us, our logistics cost typically, depending upon the type of the company and the distance, they all range between anything between 3% of turnover to maybe 10% of turnover, depending upon the value of the product and the distance that it carries and the type of, some people send it by rail, so it's cheaper. Some people send it by parcel load, hence it's costlier. So if you look at it, if you compare the technology solutions that you need to put in for tracking it is a very small fraction of the overall logistics cost. Second thing is that most often than not, the infrastructure is a one-time kind of a thing. You have a GPS, you have created a system that's there permanently. You just need to keep maintaining it and upgrading it. So I would say the cost of it is a fraction of the logistics cost. So, there's no need to even worry about any ROI or anything of that sort because it's too small. It's too small.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember around 5 years back, one of our client premises in a smelter factory in Rajasthan, they had brilliantly integrated technology. So whenever the vehicle is getting into the plant, there are three lamps, one below the other. And for the boom to open, all the three lamps have to turn green. So I asked them out of curiosity, like, what is that? What are the three lamps? The first is the driver has undergone the relevant training program. That means their system has got integrated with the transporter. That's the first one. Second is the driver has got all the relevant papers in the sense like the vehicle is registered, all the legal things. That's the second one. The third is the vehicle has come as per the schedule allocated to them. So suppose he is supposed to be there at 2 p.m. Tomorrow and he has come today evening, he's not going to be allowed. So these are the three lamps. And the brilliant part is there are very few times that the security guard has to step out of his cabin to check. Otherwise, the system did all the things. This I'm not talking about not 2 years or 3 years. It's not more than 5 years. And right after that, I have not seen anywhere else. I don't say that exactly the same thing, but are we looking at any sort of integration like this? Because one of the topics or challenges you said the skill and validation, all the things. So are we? Is anyone doing that? Do you have any plans in your organization for any such integration?
See, what we have done is, for example, for our all our vehicles that come in, for example, I would categorize them as there are certain dedicated trucks that we periodically use, which goes between location A, location B. For example, all of them have those sensors there in place. So the moment that kind of a truck or a container crosses into, so there is a reader which actually captures it at the gate itself. So we know that this is a truck which is an approved truck, which is, it's part of our routine truck. Probably the truck comes 5 times a day. So no need to keep checking their documents every time. So that is something the moment it says cleared, so it kind of walks in like a green channel. And for trucks which are, which comes from the market from somewhere else, so obviously, they don't go through the green channel, they go through kind of a red channel where those checks are getting placed. Now, one of the important things that we have plans in our system to be able to integrate it is that today, with the Vahan system, that's another brilliant, facility that it has. It gives complete details of the truck, the vehicle, has it been involved in any accident, it is clear, etc., etc. Papers are there, licenses are up to date, pollution certificate is always there. So that is one. The second thing is there, the driver details, that the driver is a legitimate driver, has a proper valid license, etc. So these are two things which I would again, I know I'm again saying it back and forth, is there that I would give quite a bit of credit to the government, because these kind of systems which have to be, which is common across the whole country, has to be set up by the government. Individual companies cannot set it up. So those things have got now created, like an Aadhaar card or a DG Yatra, where we use it to get into any airport. So that facility is what we are now building in our next phase, so that the moment the truck comes in, all those things are there, so that you don't even have to, for the new trucks, not the day, the guy who comes 5 times a day, but for the others, the validation would automatically get done, so that it can be let in without any issues. So absolutely, you're right that technological developments is something part that in the next 3 to 5 months we would be implementing that. That's already in our phase. But clearly, I think the moot point that you're making is there, that how do we leverage technology to make logistics very, very convenient? I would actually say that compared to many of the other functions, logistics is one of the functions where digital can play a very, very big role. Technology can play a very big role.
That is pretty interesting when you say that I'm leveraging an existing one rather than trying to reinventing the wheel. I would really say that's a brilliant one, and that also relates to one of the earlier initiatives of World Economic Forum, which I heard around 3 to 4 years back. What they call it as a data marketplace. So suppose I buy a vehicle, I give Aadhaar, PAN, then I go for insurance. The same set of documents are asked. How about keeping everything in a single place and just giving the access? This is happening in a very fragmented way. And similar to what you are talking about, there is a set of thing, and with these, the transport authority is maintaining all this data. So it's not really making any sense for me to find a parallel system. I try to leverage that. Now I'm getting back to a specific.
I'll just say this. See, one of the important things that, just to close off on that, see, one of the key things is there that today all our licenses are state-based. If I'm in Maharashtra, I get a Maharashtra driving license. Now, this is something which I've heard the minister talk about, that there will be a common authority across the country, like an Aadhaar, for driving license as well. So a driving license, quote unquote, will not be a Maharashtra license or a Karnataka license, but an India license. So anybody anywhere can actually quickly look at it and clear things off, which is what is happening in the, of course, the Vahan has, for all of the states it's put in, but they want to create a all India kind of a capability.
Great. I'm going to zoom back a bit, and this is more about another compelling topic within any logistics. Is all about cost, and the way the existing scenario, which is scenario number one, I call it, where the many of the companies use a transport aggregator, who is basically a technology player. Many of the freight forwarders or truckers, they go there and participate, and it typically is an auction platform, and we keep hearing diverse views on that, the benefits and the advantages, disadvantages of that. So first question is like, is it benefiting? Is it sustainable? Second is as scenario number two, where I have come across some of the large trucking companies. Of course, we have very few in India. They are trying to come up with their own version of that platform. And although the modality is almost similar to the scenario number one, the difference between the two is they become more responsible. They have a lot of other variables under their control, and they make it more sustainable. But it's not widespread. I see very fragmented with some of our client companies. They are going for it, and the trucking companies are showing a lot of interest. So is it really making sense for you, whether it's a scenario number one or two?
See, what I would definitely like to say is that, like we said, that the logistics cost is high. Part of it is infrastructural, where we don't have last mile connectivity, etc., etc. The second thing is also this whole trucking market today that we have in our country. Now we know that, like you mentioned, that we don't have too many pan India big time operators. There are lots of small operators, and we do know that many truck operators have one truck, two trucks also. They come and give it, and there are some consolidators, there are some fleet owners, but not too many people who can take care of all the material movement that will happen in the country. Now, clearly there is, because of data asymmetry or information asymmetry, one doesn't know that if I'm sending it from place A to place B, what is the right cost that is there today. So you can do some auction, you can do, call up 5 people and ask them, but you still don't know exactly whether that is the true and fair price. Second thing is there that there is quite a bit of, what I would say, reverse logistics that may get wasted, because one doesn't know whether the person is going to get a return load or not. And so because of which, typically what happens is there, like what happens in your city and many of the other cities, you get into any taxi or any of those guys, he will say, I need double, because he's trying to recover his return load also. He's not sure whether he'll get a return load. So hence of course, part of it is greed, part of it is also economics. Now, the same thing is with all the truck providers or whoever those guys, because they have an uncertainty whether they will get it back. They don't know, so they will build it into their cost calculations. So if we have an aggregator is somebody who can actually play the role of bringing everybody together to make sure that information asymmetry is not there. And if information asymmetry is not there, everybody wins in the longer term. And I know I'm going to give another example just to make the point. For example, before the BSE or NSE got into digital trading, earlier it used to be all manual trading. Each one shouted a share price. There was a lot of information asymmetry, so nobody ever knew, is this the right price or it's the wrong price? How many people are interested? How many in buying? How many people are interested in selling? So that lack of knowledge or information led to a lot of discrepancies. So today, when you have a digital system where everything is transparent, how many buyers are there, how many sellers are there. That transparency actually makes sure that it is a fair system to all the parties. I would say that the aggregators, if we need, what I would say is that I would suggest two important things to be there. One, I would say a lot of aggregators who can help in running the whole show, maintaining it, and making sure the delivery takes place. Second, I would actually throw the idea of like a BSE or an SE for a stock exchange. If we can have something called a transport exchange, where in one place we all know that how much is the truck from place A to place B, and then it's a competitive game. I mean, you may sell it sometimes, underprice it because you have a need, or you may overprice it because that I have no other choice. So that is something which I think are two important things that we could do. One is get these big time people to create an aggregation platform. There are lots of them who have got into it. We all know the name, but just don't want to throw out names, because if I say two names and I forget the third name, it will sound bad. So there are a lot of these companies which are there, and I think a lot more has to be done. And second, I would really love to have something called a freight exchange in the country.
Okay, so the alternate version for that freight exchange, what we are talking about is a few of the elites in our community. They are talking about a digital freight platform with wherein the corporates come together, and probably we may have to revisit that and explore the possibilities, because we all understand that there is a lot of return trips which are coming empty, and people pay for the dedicated flights. So that's something can be worked out. Probably that could be the next one in agenda. And yes, I mean, these are typical issues like the shortage of truck drivers, manpower, cost. These are typical problems. And that's really, I think, there are great takeaways, something which we can definitely work for the next a few months or a year to address this compelling existing problem, painful in the space. And of course, the infrastructure will continue to complement the developments, whatever is happening, to reduce whatever the 14%, and everybody talks about it. Nobody knows whether it's right. So I'll leave it at that stage. And any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think thanks for this. I think half an hour was too short to talk about all the things that are potentially possible in logistics. But I do recognize that we have a dead time. One thing that I would like to talk about, 2 points I would like to make in the larger forum is there that I would say that if we look at from a digitization perspective, what happened 30, 40 years back, which is digitization, which helped transform the financial sector. Then later on, we had a lot of digitization which transformed the manufacturing sector, where, IIoT, Industry 4.0. I would say that this this decade and probably part of next decade, I would say is the focus area for digitization and automation for the logistics function. Whether it is sorters and delivery AGVs, etc., etc. I think there's a lot of it that will happen in the logistics area in the next maybe 10, 15 years. So it's, I would say, the era of logistics, point number one. Point number two is something that is very important is there that every sector does well if we have excellent set of manpower and capability and talent. For example, when the financial sector boomed in 1990s and all, we had a lot of good talent rushing in there, and that is what actually helped propel that industry far ahead. Similar thing that happened in the sales and marketing, and then happened in manufacturing. I think it's now time that we get good talent in supply chain. Now, I do recognize that supply chain in many companies across is a backroom job. They are never there. It's only the sales and marketing guys or the R&D guys. In some companies which are manufacturing oriented, it's the manufacturing guys who take the limelight. Supply chain people typically tend to be in the background. I think that is something that will change because people are going to realize that the delta that is going to come from better supply chain, whether it's resilience or procurement or logistics. And hence, it's important to get, build excellent talent within our companies, within the country, to be able to take the country where it is. And there are one good thing that I've also noticed is there in the last maybe 8, 10 years, a lot of premier institutions have started offering supply chain as a course. In my own days and, your days also as well, both of us are virtually the same age. Supply chain there was no specialization called supply chain. But today there are institutes offering that. That's a very good thing. And I'm also happy that there is a CII supply chain team, which as you guys are also playing a big role in building up that capability. So I would say that the building talent is going to be one of the critical challenges in the next 5 to 10 years. So that's what I would say. Interesting times. I'm sure all of us will enjoy this journey and contribute, learn, and grow.
Thank you so much, sir. And it is really brilliant, and most importantly, on a short notice, you really agreed to be the speaker instead of someone asking the question, and it's really amazing every time I talk to you. And we look forward to some great, wonderful sessions with you. And for the participants, we break now, and please join before 5 minutes. That is 1:25 p.m. We got nearly 4 sessions coming up for the next 2.5 hours. One of the forecasting on the FMCG industry, and next followed by we have sessions on green hydrogen. I will be hosting the professor of IIT Madras. Then we have a digital twin in warehousing and supply planning, leveraging AI. These are wonderful things, and a couple of them are startup founders and a professor from IIT. And FMCG, you have the veterans speaking from some of the best companies. Don't miss it.